there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel RVCCIS.info, where faculty representatives from Rock Valley College's Computers and Information Systems Department talks to you, our community at large, about things roughly having to do with computer science. Joining me today is Jim Conley, Stephanie Washer. Howdy, everybody. I'm Eric Wolf, and today we thought we would talk about some of our technology horror stories. They are something I argue for anybody who's worked in IT, you have a horror story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So this was Jim's idea, and we love it. So we're going to let Jim take us out. Give us a horror story.
Okay. This is back, thank you, Eric, in the early 1980s. Okay. And the company I was working for, we sold IBM AT computers that had the Intel 286 chip. All right. It was running a version of Unix, but IBM called it Xenix. All right. It had 2 megabytes of memory and a 60 meg hard drive, and we charged like 10 grand for that baby. Yeah. But back then, 2 megs of memory and 60 meg hard drive was huge. Well, anyway, somebody came out with this technology, and we sold to like these oil companies, these mom and pop shops and stuff like that. They had no IT support. We sold the software and the hardware and everything. Okay. So anyway, some inventor came up with the idea of souping up that IBM 280 or the Intel 286 chip. And it involved taking the cover off and kind of putting this Frankenstein kind of cable. You took the chip out, you put a new CPU chip in, and then had this ribbon cable that went back to the old 286 chip. I mean, it was I can't say it in public, but
A bear.
Yeah.
But the company we represented, the software company, they were all for it. So we were selling it to our customers. And I was the tech support guy, and I would go out. And so we sold it to this company in Chicago suburb. I went out there, they had their 286, and the company we represented, this is a long story, sorry. He came out from Corvallis, Oregon. So Steve and I were in this company, put the chip in, did this Frankenstein ribbon cable. And of course, Xenix, the operating system, it would start freezing and doing basically blue screens of death. We literally pulled an all-nighter, worked through the whole night, trying to get this thing to work. It finally kind of worked in just a little bit, but eventually we just said, bag it. I mean, but it was to give you the speed of a 386. From a 286 to a 386. That was the whole purpose of this technology. Let's just, redo the motherboard. Oh, it was crazy, that technology back then, or lack thereof, so to speak. Yeah. And we were doing it with no training. I mean, you were just flying by the seat of your pants.
Mm-hmm. There's never an operator's manual for any of that stuff, is there?
No, there really isn't. And then, the guy, their head office guy, Jim, he was a really nice guy, but he kept saying, "You guys done yet? Are you guys done yet?" Yeah. Because this was their main computer. It was like, dumb terminals hooked up to this 286 machine. Yeah. All right, I'll shut up now. So
It's fine.
So we agreed beforehand. I would go next, unless Steph, did you come up with one? No, I'll go next. At my previous, or most immediately previous full-time job to RVC, I've worked a lot of places. I worked at a neighborhood center, and we do what we do. I'll call it entrepreneurially. So it had to be inexpensive. And I don't know what epoch of computer this thing was. It was the machine that ran the software for the boiler, essentially. So it was kind of like an HVAC system, but not. It was the most odd thing I'd ever seen. It was running on a machine that on the outside said Amiga, but on the inside was a Windows NT box that somebody threw together. So I think probably at some point, like, the case had gotten damaged, but they just moved the interiors over. And one of the weirdnesses, I guess, was we could not sign in to the machine to control anything. We had to call out to somebody from the city to come if we were having problems with the HVAC. And even then, they could only work with the software. We couldn't get to the actual system itself. But every time the network would go down, we would have just tremendous issues with this thing. So we discovered that, so this is a technology adjacent story. One day, all of a sudden, all of our, the heat in every room just started going up, 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 up. And it was getting like unreasonably warm. And we couldn't figure out why, we couldn't ping this thing. We couldn't see it from anywhere. No, nothing. So that night was, we call it like the achievement dinner. So we're all dressed up because we're going to be on stage for everything later on. And I'm working in, it's literally a closet. There's paint and like chemicals every place. And so we start, okay, troubleshoot. I'm sweating buckets in here. It's like June and it's 90 some odd degrees outside and it's piping hot air in. It sucks. So finally we figure out, well, it looks like it's not getting a stable connection. So it's got to be either, something's wrong with the cable or something's finally wrong with that machine. We can't check the machine. So we have to start checking the cables. So there's literally just a PVC pipe with, Cat 5 cable running through it because whoever was the lowest bidder, that was how they knew how to do this. So I go crawling up there and I start pulling on, the cable to see if anything goes wrong. And I pull the third pull, a rat's nest just goes on top of me. And there's poop, there's everything else in there. It was disgusting.
Anything live?
No, luckily enough, I didn't see anything alive. I am sure I blacked out for a moment there, being like enraged because I was wearing a freaking like blazer because it was getting to be like, I gotta go. I'm going to be presenting awards here in a couple of minutes.
Buckets of sweat, I'm sure.
Yeah, oh my God. I was just soaked in sweat. So I went back to my office. I put on a shirt that didn't look like it was covered in rat poop. We did finally I just ran a new cable through there. We didn't solve the mouse problem or the rat problem at the time. And like literally I presented one of our students an award for, graduating. They got their GED and I'm like, thank you. And I introduced the next guest and I walk right out the door, right to my car. I'm like, get it all off. And as soon as I got home, I put like bleach in the tub and I just sat in there for an hour because it was disgusting.
That's a good one.
That's my technology story.
That is a good one.
That's really good.
Not if you live through it. That's
well, now you can, now, it's always after the fact.
It's this much less traumatic now.
So at the previous school I worked at, there was 2 of us instructors, and part of my job was to take care of all the technology in the building. And over the summer, he and I, since we were moving to a new building, we thought, hey, we'll create a new Active Directory server and get it all taken care of. And we had a really great server. We got a new Dell, a newer. And the server was great, but when we installed the software on it, we're like, oh, we're gonna name this after like a movie and we'll have a theme because we had a theme before. Well, our theme was Rain Man, and no matter what we did, Active Directory would not work. We did anything and everything. And so then we kind of like looked at each other and giggled and went, maybe it's the name that we chose. Maybe we shouldn't have named it after this movie. And so then since we had the luxury of being able to just redo it all over again, so we chose mythology instead of Rain Man, and voila, everything worked. I don't know what the heck happened, but
Microsoft does not like to be called differently abled. That's what it is.
Yes, the moral of the story. That's right.
Yeah, it was server 2008. I remember that much because
that should have been okay.
Yes, it was a good operating system. It was good. I'm like, dang, all it was is Active Directory, but didn't want to talk to anybody for some reason.
You've got me going, Eric, but I know this is, just one story per episode, but I've got like 5 more in the queue. I got to tell you. So.
We will do this. We will do, because we're in, like, as far as I'm concerned, the worst stretch of winter now. So I think that it's perfectly okay that we just do a story of whatever once a week if we needed to here. Because I think it's also one of the things that students don't get to hear, because right when we're in the classroom, we would talk about things that have gone wrong. And when I don't talk about things that go wrong when I put together videos for class. It's here's the things that should go right instead.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah.
I think.
I also got a lot of why did this come this way to us?
Yeah. I'm the poster child for things going wrong. Trust me, out in industry. It's been,
oh my God. Yeah. So there you go. More stories of the hustle. Please go ahead and leave us a comment down below if you've got technology horror stories that have gone wrong. If you have, in fact, had your personal space intruded on by rat poop, or tried to tell Microsoft that it was differently abled and it took offense to it in some way, shape, or form. While you're down there, you can also follow us, or you should like and subscribe if you like the content here, and hit that bell to be notified of any and all content as it becomes available. While you're at it, you can follow us on social media. We are at RVCCIS info on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube here, and on anchor.fm. So on behalf of Jim and Stephanie, myself, Eric, and the rest of the Rock Valley College community, stay safe and stay sane out there, everybody, until it all goes wrong.